Now, Russia's President Vladimir Putin, in a fresh warning against Ukraine, has stated that the Crimea Bridge blast is an act of terrorism. Ukraine's special forces are behind this bridge attack. Ukraine has also tried to blow up the Turkish Stream pipeline. If attacks continue against Russia, the response will be harsh. Now, let's listen in to what he said, and then we'll connect with our reporter once again.
It is impossible to leave these crimes without a due response. On the initiative of the Ministry of Defense, and according to the plan, strikes using high-precision weapons from land, sea, and air carriers were made against objects in the Ukrainian territory. We will make a serious steps to provide an adequate response commensurate with the level of threats created to the Russian Federation. Nobody should have any doubts as to that.
All right, now I'm crossing back over to our foreign affairs correspondent, Abhishek Jha, to really understand more about the statement. You know, Abhishek, a couple of things to really note here. When the Russian president is calling the Crimea Bridge blast an act of terrorism, just earlier this month, we saw the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights verify that over 6,000 civilian deaths have taken place since the war began, and over 9,000 have actually been injured. But now we see that Putin is actually calling the Crimea Bridge blast an act of terrorism. Can you tell us more about how this statement will be seen?
Yes. So clearly, with this whole Crimea Bridge attack, Russia has termed this attack as a terrorist in nature. The Russian investigative agencies who have conducted attack and the various points through which this could be established, that the explosive-laden truck that passed through Bulgaria, Armenia, Krasnodar region, and they have also claimed that they have been able to pinpoint the people or the individuals involved in this whole operation, and they have blamed it squarely on Ukraine's special forces. So clearly, and they have termed it as a terrorist act of that's something they tried to hit Russian civilian infrastructure. You know that in 2018, President Putin has inaugurated this bridge that would connect South Russia to the Crimean Peninsula, and there's a very dream project of President Putin, which is almost 20 kilometers in length, and that connects Russia and the annexed region of Ukraine, Crimea. So, in fact, ever since that has happened, it was anticipated that Russia would retaliate, taking those Crimean bridge collapse that has happened, though that was restored by the evening by the Russian authorities. And very soon we saw that during Saturday night, there was a Russian rockets attack that happened on Rosia region, almost 17 killed. Now, on the Sunday morning, on Monday morning, again, Russian missiles started pounding on various cities in Kyiv, targeting energy infrastructure and civilian places. In fact, one of the office of President Volodymyr Zelenskyy was also targeted. However, the rocket fell a few meters short of that building and didn't cause much of the panic. But almost 12 people were killed and more than 70 have been injured in the latest series of attacks that Russian crews have done in and around Kyiv. So clearly, the war rhetoric has increased from both the sides, because Volodymyr Zelenskyy is also calling Russia a terrorist state. Russian authorities are calling Ukrainian special forces a terrorist act. And now the only possible way out of this conflict has been negotiation. But now Vladimir Zelenskyy has clearly taken a stance where he is saying that he would not like to discuss any peace negotiation with the current ruling dispensation of Russia, that is Vladimir Putin. And it looks highly unlikely that in the present circumstances, Vladimir Putin can be removed from the Russian ruling position. So clearly, there is a tiff where both the sides they are taking their stand very strongly, and in that. If there is no flexibility from both the sides, then it will be really difficult for the world community or any peace negotiator or interlocutor to bring both warring sides on a table and discuss the way out from this conflict that has been happening for 8 months now. So we'll have to see how in the course of the next few weeks, how the situation changes, how the winter is changing the situation, the narrative of the war changes, and how the world community is trying to force these two countries or bring them together to sit and talk it out peacefully.
All right, Abhishek, stay with us. We're going to take a look at another report. Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening more attacks on Ukraine after unleashing a barrage of deadly strikes across the war-torn nation on Monday. Now, CNN's Ivan Rodriguez gets us more in this report.
Massive explosions rocking power lines in Dnipro, Ukraine, sending debris raining down on top of drivers frozen in their tracks. In Zaporizhia, flames raged from the rubble of an apartment building, reduced to ruins after strikes from Russian rockets. And unsettling images reveal children's playground equipment amongst smoldering scorched earth. These are just a few of the lethal attacks unleashed across Ukraine by Russian forces targeting power plants, bridges, and other infrastructure, the heaviest since Russia began its invasion of Ukraine.
They're trying to spread chaos and panic. They want to annihilate our energy supplies. They're hopeless. Their second target is our people. They specifically selected this time in order to hit us the hardest.
Russia says the attacks are in response to the bombing of the Kerch Bridge linking Russia and Crimea on Saturday. Kyiv has not claimed responsibility for that blast.
All assigned targets are hit.
A senior Biden administration official says the White House is closely monitoring the attacks and finds them troubling.
We're in touch almost daily with the Ukrainians, and we're going to continue to provide them security assistance.
All right, I'm crossing back over to our foreign affairs correspondent, Abhishek Jha. Abhishek, can you give us an update on essentially the escalation when it comes to how many military personnel are joining this war? Because I believe Belarus has now joined in. Abhishek, can you hear me? All right, we'll try to reestablish that connection. But essentially for right now, the latest that we're bringing to you is that Putin has made a statement calling the Crimea Bridge blast an act of terrorism. And essentially what he said is that he has threatened a harsh retaliation. I'm crossing back over to our foreign affairs correspondent, Abhishek Jha, to really get us more. Abhishek, what I was asking you actually was about Belarus. I believe that they've also joined in and sent military personnel to join the Russian personnel that are already fighting this war. Could you clarify that, please?
Of course, the Belarusian president has said that he is anticipating an attack from the Ukrainian side, and for that, he has tried to move about 150,000 of his soldiers, along with Russian soldiers who are in that region. And he has said that in such eventuality, he will be fighting alongside with Russian soldiers to defend their territories. And probably this is one of the most strong, one of the more, the support that Russia has gotten in that region. However, Belarus has always been supporting Russian forces and Russian regime in that region. But the latest in the series has been the logistical support that one country can provide, and Belarus can be very helpful in that, providing not only logistical support, but also the number of soldiers and the equipment that Russians will need in that region to circle Ukraine and step up their offensive. The latest series of attacks have also caused a lot of discussion among G7 countries, and Volodymyr Zelenskyy, if he's making his stand very hard and inflexible, because the list of demands that he is putting across G7 countries and his supporters from NATO is actually increasing now. He has asked for long-range missiles that can repeated long-standing demand for long-range missiles. And also wants Russia to be declared a state sponsor of terrorism, and its resolution underlined a UN General Assembly. So clearly, a country which is United Nations Security Council permanent member has a veto power, can to call it a terrorist state and to term it and to isolate it at an international platform will be very difficult. But this is something that Volodymyr Zelenskyy is seeking. He's also seeking a lot of ammunition, equipments, long-range missiles, and air defense system for the people of Ukraine.